show. So I'm talking to Michelle, and one of the really amazing characters which we saw today was Ernesto, and Ernesto Sirolli, is that his name? Mm-hmm. From the Sirolli Institute?
That's right.
Unbelievable guy, and brave to bring him here because he's slightly different and wacky, wasn't he? But I went to his workshop this morning, hugely inspirational, but I missed yesterday. So what happened yesterday? Because the audience were telling me he was wonderful.
Yeah, we got some great feedback from him. A couple of people said he was actually a little bit polarising, but he'd already told me prior that he was going to be provocative, and he certainly was. He really got us thinking about dealing with rural communities and understanding what the community wants to do and how important that is for planning, but not to assume that they want you to come in and tell them how to live their lives and how to fix things. You have to engage them, get them inspired, harness their passion, and they will then tell you what they need. So it was all about that. And he was quite dismissive of the Western countries going into the likes of Africa with all the aid. He was very dismissive of the aid programs.
Oh, I missed that.
Even though he had been an aid worker and almost like a missionary in Africa, but he said that none of those programs ever worked because it was almost like the white, arrogant people of the Western world, superior, coming into remote regions and telling people suddenly how they should live their life and that they know better.
Good for him.
Yeah.
I love that quote from Gandhi. You might have heard it when Gandhi was asked what to think of Western civilization. His answer was, seems like a good idea.
Yes.
I think you're very right. I love that what you said there. I think we've experienced overseas things ourselves and seen that for ourselves. So I'm glad he brought that up. He wasn't backwards in coming forwards. I think for the purposes of people listening to you and I talking, we're talking about a guy, he's not medical at all, is he? He's what is he? He's something clever.
Yeah,
what does he do?
Very clever.
Yeah.
I mean, I forget what his PhD is in, but it's something to do with human psychology. But I know that he comes from a family of 7 generations of doctors.
Oh, is that
he
right?
He chose not to be medic.
Yes.
He's very well connected there. But he's worked with rural communities for 35 years, and I forget how many towns and places. He worked with hundreds of thousands of people. And over the years, he's developed a model for breaking through to get people who are responsive to the needs of the community rather than a strategic plan that has no connection with the community.
Yes, that certainly came across this morning at the workshop, and I sort of got the feeling that he is an enabler. So you've got some people who've got a problem, they've got ideas, and the solution is potentially over there if only they can see it, and he sort of put somebody in the middle to permit that to happen.
Yes.
I think we all came out of his session thinking, just do it, and let's do it. And we're all very inspired with that. And I'd like to think he was inspired by us too. I think we are blessed in the rural community. We can do that. What feedback have you had from his input, apart from just mine?
I've had really strong feedback, positive feedback from the workshop this morning, and it's really it's very reassuring to me because I think the whole conference committee went out on a bit of a punt on him because he is a very high profile speaker and he did have a bit of a price. He did discount, but he had a bit of a price attached, so we had to make sure that we had the book sorted as well. But I think he's brought a whole new dimension to it, and I think he challenged our thinking. And for me, all along, I saw him speak in New Zealand about 3 months ago and I was really impressed. It was slightly different to what he's done today. But for me, we're all looking at health, so rural health and well-being, but there is a great connection to economic well-being, to health and well-being as individuals. And we hear about these rural towns dying, and people have called them zombie towns, and they're in a state of decay. And I think his model and his thinking gives us a way to build it back from the bottom up, so that our towns are livable, and so that health practitioners actually want to come and work and want to come and live in those communities, along with all the broadband and the transport and the roading and all the other stuff that we need.
Yeah. Well, I certainly got the feeling that if anybody is in a small community which is failing, they've got a vision, they've got I want this to happen. With his model, they could see it happen and everybody wins, and that was the picture he painted. I did come away just asking myself, do we need him to be that enabler, or can we be enablers ourselves? And that was a question I was asking myself. Have you got a feel for that?
No, I think we can definitely do it ourselves. And I live in a rural place, Waipukaro, in the North Island, and this is the second time I've heard him talk about the enterprise facilitator. I would like to work with some key people in my own community to get that going.
Yes.
And I think I'd learn an awful lot and see whether it's scalable and how it could actually work with health, because it's a really big concept, isn't it? It's very new, very different. So I think he could be on hand to support, but if we could identify in our own communities who that enterprise facilitator could be, we can go from there. He's given us what we need, the governance body, the support body, and how it might work.
It's a simple model. For those who weren't at the talk and don't know who the hell this guy is, this enterprise facilitator, it's almost like the middle person between the problem and the solution.
Yes.
Is a way of doing
right.
it. But on a big picture, not only just for that one particular project, but to benefit the whole community as such. And I was really inspired by that. I'm inspired by you, that you feel that we can be those, that we don't need somebody from the Sirolli Institute to come and be that enterprise facilitator, but we can be that ourselves. And that's impressive.
I think so. I don't think that was his angle at all.
No.
But I think if a few towns in New Zealand, and they already exist because we know they're in Taranaki, and Manaia was the first place, and he told us who those facilitators were. Nothing to stop us ringing them and talking to them. But I think from his model, what he said was key for the characteristics of that enterprise facilitator was they had to be.
Oh, well done. Here we go. Let's test our memory.
Yeah, let's test our memory. So it was all confidential. So people who had an idea in a community about a business stream they had would go and see the enterprise facilitator, completely confidential. It would be free because the people who are setting it up get funding for this person. Accessible, and they wouldn't be tied to an office. They'd be out there in the community. They actually have to be well respected within the community. They don't need a academic degree. They just got to have some sort of small business experience and those contacts within the community.
Great. And he had trust as well. Yeah. Trust was on the list.
Which almost will need to come at the end, won't it?
Yes,
as Martin said.
Yes, I was interested there. I was more thinking trustworthy was my feeling, but maybe that was not in his Italian language, but certainly trust. But I've forgotten what else was on the list. And there was something else as well.
There were a few other things.
They're the top four anyway, which was really good. And you're very right, none of those come with a PhD, do they? That's just a dude. I was impressed. He said he wants those people really to not have an office, sit in the cafe and read the newspaper and be accessible, and that was number 2 on the list, wasn't it?
Yes.
And that was a very attractive feeling. And I loved his test. Are they doing a good job?
Yes.
Yep. Visit them in 6 months. Can they walk down the street 300 yards? And if they can walk 300 yards without being interrupted, they're failing.
Yeah. That's a tough test, but how? It's on the money, that one.
That was very good. I like that. What I liked about its style was it really was enabling. It's empowering. It was just do it because you can, that was lovely. I think there's too many of us are scared to go ahead and do it. We're held back by something, and he almost got rid of that, whatever's holding you back, and that was lovely.
And it was like a fresh pair of eyes, a community type group, talking to people who had hit roadblocks with council legislation or silly policies or silly something, and a clean pair of eyes says, well, change the law or fix it, and they got it done.
He didn't quite, but he always reminded us that a camel is a horse designed by a committee, and to a certain degree that's what constipates many local councils, is that phenomenon, and it was lovely to just bypass that. And he did make another good point too, that the true enterprising people in the community, the council don't know about them.
No.
And that was interesting.
Wasn't it interesting? Because they said sometimes, the councils or people doing district planning or DHBs will call a public meeting, allow the public to come in, and then they say that that's been community consultation, and then they wonder why when they build a new swimming pool or a new park, nobody fronts up.
Quite, exactly.
Because they haven't got the people who will actually use it in the meeting.
They've got a load of tails and no dog, and that ends up wagging the animal which isn't there, and that was beautifully put. So we're going to bring him back?
Well, we'll see. I'm really hoping people who attended his keynote and his workshop this morning will write good feedback on the survey form that will come out straight after this conference, because he was a gamble, but I think he was really wonderful, and if we want him back, we need to know people want him.
Well, that's a perfect note to finish on. Michelle, thanks for chatting to me. That was brilliant.
Great.
We'll chat again soon.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks, Buzz.